All right, today we're tackling something really strange. We're diving into one of the most unsettling and frankly bizarre documents that's ever come to light, an alleged top secret manual called Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars.
So how did we even get our hands on this thing? Well, the origin story is just wild. The story goes that in 1986, someone at Boeing bought a used IBM copier, probably just to scrap it for parts. But tucked away inside, they found this document. Was it an accidental leak, a very elaborate prank, or was it planted there on purpose? We honestly have no idea, but its discovery kicked off decades of theories and speculation.
And this document, it does not pull any punches. Right from the get-go, it drops a bombshell. It says its contents have to be kept secret from us, from the public, because if we saw it, we'd immediately realize what it is, a formal declaration of war against us. Now, according to the document's own timeline, this so-called Quiet War was declared way back in 1954 by some unnamed international elite. The copy that was found was supposedly updated in 1979 to mark the war's 25th anniversary. So for over 2 decades before anyone even found this thing, this silent conflict was allegedly already being fought.
Okay, so what is this quiet war? Well, the manual lays out a totally new kind of warfare. This one isn't fought on battlefields with soldiers. It's fought in spreadsheets and on stock market floors.
So let's break that down. A conventional war is pretty straightforward, right? You've got bullets, military generals, and very obvious physical damage. But this quiet war, it's different. Its weapon isn't lead, it's data. Its generals aren't in the military, they're banking magnets. And the damage? It's completely invisible. A slow, steady drain on your bank account and your mental health. It's basically a war of attrition against an entire population's will to live freely.
Now here's where it gets really unsettling, the justification for all of this. The authors claim that if people don't use their own intelligence to figure out the systems that control them, well then they're no better than animals. It's this absolutely chilling worldview that frames the public not as citizens to be protected, but as livestock, a resource to be managed and, if need be, culled.
And that disturbing mindset leads directly to the stated goal, which is a massive, permanent transfer of wealth. The entire plan is designed to move what the manual calls social and natural energy. Think money, resources, labor, away from the so-called irresponsible many and concentrate it into the hands of a worthy few.
So you have to be asking, how could anyone even possibly achieve something like that? Well, the manual's answer gets to the real heart of the matter. It involves turning the entire science of economics into a weapon system. And here it is. This is the big idea, the linchpin of the whole document. It claims that a national economy isn't some messy, chaotic thing. Nope, it's a predictable energy system that follows the exact same laws as an electrical circuit. And, if you can map out a circuit, you can control it. To build this economic circuit, they start translating economic ideas into electrical terms. First up is economic capacitance. This is your capital. Money, stocks, inventory, buildings. It acts just like a capacitor in a circuit, basically storing value. Then you've got economic conductance. This represents the flow of goods and materials through the system. Think of it like the current flowing through a wire. It's the whole production process, from raw materials to finished products.
And finally, we get to what might be the most critical component of all, economic inductance. This represents the inertia of human behavior, our habits, our demand for things, our willingness to work for a certain wage. It's essentially the population's resistance to change. And according to this manual, it's the most important variable you have to control.
And this is how they supposedly see it all fitting together. The manual is just filled with these complex diagrams, treating entire industries, and even individual families, as if they're just nodes in a giant circuit. Every single part of society gets boiled down to a variable in an equation, an element that can be predicted and ultimately manipulated. Okay, so once that whole theory is laid out, the manual gets into the nitty-gritty. It starts outlining the specific tactics you'd use to control everyone.
The main tool in their toolbox is something called economic shock testing. It's basically a 4-step playbook. First, you pick something everyone needs, like gas or coffee. Then, you engineer a sudden price shock or a shortage. Step 3, you sit back and monitor the panic, the shock waves. What do people stop buying? What do they rush to buy instead? And finally, you use all that data you collected to map out and control the public's behavior.
But it's not just about these sudden shocks. The manual also lays out some long-term strategies. The number one strategy is diversion. Just keep people's minds busy with entertainment, sports, trivial arguments, anything that's of no real importance so they don't notice what's actually going on. This is supposedly backed up by weakening public education, putting tons of economic pressure on families, and pushing childcare into state-run centers.
You see, what makes this whole system so sinisterly effective is that it's all based on stealth. People feel that something is wrong. They're anxious about money, they're stressed out, but they can't point to the cause. And because you can't see or understand the weapon being used against you, you can't even believe you're under attack.
So all of this, where does it lead? What's the ultimate goal? What is the final, chilling endgame of this quiet war?
The big prize, the overarching objective, is to get rid of all the guesswork. To engineer an economy, and by extension, an entire society, that is completely predictable, completely stable, and completely under the thumb of its designers.
In the way the manual frames it, this was a necessary evil, almost a benevolent choice. As the author saw it, humanity was facing a choice between two futures. Either let people's greed and ignorance lead to endless, bloody wars, or seize control of the whole global system themselves.
And this is the final jaw-dropping conclusion. The authors claim they picked door number 2. They chose to take control of the world through what they themselves explicitly call benevolent slavery and genocide, all to reduce the economic inductance, the unpredictability of the population, down to a safe, manageable level.
Which, of course, brings us right back to the million-dollar question. Is this document real? Is it a genuine, top-secret blueprint for a silent global takeover that's been going on for decades? Or is it an incredibly sophisticated fake, a political warning written to show us the dangers of giving too much control to technocrats? The document itself gives us no easy answers, and it leaves us to wonder which possibility is actually more terrifying.